your recording of us, I'll give you the cue on that and just run it till we stop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so confusing. Hello, Facebook world. Are we live?
We're live.
Yay! I can't see it though. Let's go. Hey, we are live.
We are live. If George says we're live, we're live. Yeah, he's giving
Live
me a
in the
thumbs
studio.
up.
I'm gonna
And
socially
it's a thumb and it's not
distance
the other finger.
from you because that's what they say we should do.
What?
Socially distance. We need our 6 feet.
We've
Got to
already
do it
been
right, Bill.
scrapping in the same spot and sharing the same air.
You're not even on here. Oh, there you are. Okay. So,
Now we're getting feedback. What are you doing?
it's not my fault. I am gonna.
That's a good excuse.
I was
It's
trying
not
to.
my
I was
fault.
trying to share this, but I can't.
And why can't you?
I don't know. Anyway,
All right, so
we have a
Facebook
pre-show to
people.
do.
What do you want to say to the Facebook people?
I would like to say hello and welcome to another. Hey, it's George out there today. CJ's got a
You're
birthday.
lucky.
Happy birthday,
We got
CJ!
George Ventura on the panel and CJ.
Having a birthday.
Cameron McCrae is not here today, and he's
He
taking
is.
birthday. Of course, I don't know where he would be going on his birthday.
Well, you know, it's okay.
Well, he's already staying home all the time, so
No, he's here too sometimes. So we have an update, like we always do. We have lots of updates, I think, this week because I'm excited about this week. We got a meetup we're gonna do Friday night.
yeah. And so, if you haven't signed up for it, please do. Donna, how do they do that?
You can go to meetup.com or you can go right here on our Facebook page. There's an event there or Eventbrite, and we're it's going to be a brainstorming session on how to keep businesses alive during this pandemic going on. So we're going to get together with some business owners. We got several business owners signed up for it already. Very exciting. So come and join us Friday night at 7 p.m. on Zoom.
Yeah, we'll be on Zoom.
It's the new meetup. And what else? Oh, we submitted we did a training video this week. That was exciting too.
Yeah, we
I
did.
enjoyed that.
For your network, for the John Maxwell Network.
Well, empowered living.
Yeah,
Part of John. Yeah.
and what we talked about on that. And by the way, you can find it on our YouTube page. And what's our YouTube page?
Oh, but it's private right now.
Oh, it's private right now. Never mind.
I'll send it
tell
to you
about it.
soon. I promise.
If you go back, I believe to season 5, if you go to our website, 2020sales.solutions, and you go to Solutions on Demand, I believe, which is under Tools, you click that. It'll take you to our SoundCloud archive. And season 5, I believe, is where we were talking about how to read the economy. I'll say more about it when we are able to put it on our YouTube page. But other than that, what else do you want to talk about here before we start? I know we do have one agenda item.
Well, we've got some logos coming out. That's going to be a neat thing. I think once they come out, maybe we'll even ask for some opinions on that. But they say opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody's got them, and not everyone.
That's not. I haven't heard that one. I've heard half of that.
What else do we have?
Well, we've got some feedback. I appreciate
the
everybody on
feedback
Facebook
survey.
everybody who has participated in taking the survey, and
All
we're
of
going
my
to be
friends.
running. We're going to be running. I think our campaign through Sunday. We're doing a Facebook campaign on this, and the idea behind this is twofold. One goes back to when we first started here at the station at WNTW, and we were building a business programming swim lane. View the business as swim lanes. We got political swim lanes. We got religious swim lanes. We got news. And we were building a business one, and the idea was to have what we call Solutions on Demand. Actually, we named some shows after that where our listeners would tell us what we ought to cover. And so this is just kind of an extension of that. And then number 2, given we're COVID or Corona, Wanhoon, or whatever you want to call this version of the flu came through, and we basically have shut the country down and in the process of destroying the economy. And for the small business owners, you have a right to be fearful. Now, I'm not much into fear, but you do have a right to be somewhat concerned because nobody really takes care of small businesses in this country. Big business is taken care of by government. because they buy their way in. But small businesses typically are on the butt end of just about everything. And so if you're worried about it, you should be. And one of the things we want to do is to find out where the pain was. And number two, if we put together some programming specifically to address it, which we are now doing. We changed the format of this show.
Yeah, hold on, time out right there, because I just want to say this is a sales show, but we're not selling right now. We're not selling to anybody. We want to give ideas on how you can sell. We want to keep you in business, so I just want to make sure that focus comes
Well,
out
we were
there.
always doing that.
Well, we're selling influence and ideas, yeah, but not selling. We don't want your money right now.
Well, we haven't asked for it.
Right. So I just wanted to clarify that, Bill.
Oh,
That's
okay. Well, it's
all.
sometimes.
Because sometimes people, they get afraid, and I'm supposed to be near the mic. They get afraid, and we're just friends.
All right. So let me talk about the data that we collected, and we may upgrade this survey next week and change it a little bit, or we may keep it up. We'll let you know. But we're going to be consistently doing this. So you were asked 2 questions if you took it. If you didn't take it, go there. All right. So the way to get to it is either here at Facebook. You'll see a link. I pinned it at the top of the page. Or number 2 is you can go to our website, which is 2020sales.solutions. That's 2020sales.solutions. And then when you'll see the Corona survey. And click that. And 3 questions on a Google form. Pretty simple stuff. All right. So the first question was, what's your number one business concern right now? The second question is, what type of help or support does your business need to move forward? And we gave you numerous choices about how to handle that, or what issues that you want to talk about, so you could check one or all. And then the third one is, what new challenges are you facing because of the pandemic? So let me give you a quick overview of what we got so far. On the sales side, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So question number 1, what's your major business concern right now? We had basically 6 things that jump out. And now if you are in the survey business and you do this stuff for a living, what we did is what we called a thematic analysis. And a thematic analysis is nothing more looking at all the comments to say, what's the pattern? So, for example, we only had 1 hit on sales. Now, I could say that some of the others, and I'll go through them, would fit in there. So maybe these categories are artificial. I had 1 of 20 comments on sales. I had 9 comments on customer support. How do you support your current customers? How do you deal with their issues? I had 4 of 20 comments on staying alive. 1 on resources, about where you can find stuff. 2 directly related to fear, 2 of 20. And then on staffing, it was 1 of 20. Now, I could put fear and staying alive together and had 6 of 20 comments there. Or I could put sales and customer support together and had 10 of 20. But that's the breakdown. So the number one issue you're worried about is, how do you support your current accounts when everybody is fearful and afraid of what's going on, including yourself?
So George just had a question, and I went out and came back, and you said "Staying Alive," and now I got the song stuck in my head.
Oh. That's a disco song that is not in my head, nor do I want it in my head.
It'll be there now.
No, because I was alive back then, and if it wasn't for Bob Seger, Bob Seger saved us, because I was so sick of disco, and there's one guy out there, Bob Seger.
Yeah.
So anyway,
sorry.
Question 2: what type of help and support does your business need moving forward? All right, I did the same thing. Looked for themes. I came up with 6. I'll run through them, and then I'll talk about the responses. Marketing was a theme. Sales was a theme. Growth strategy was a theme. Info or solutions was a theme. Production operations was a theme. And staffing. Now, we put those items up, so I'm going by the clicks. Marketing was 8 of 20. 8 of 20 people were talking about, how do I market in this environment?
Yeah.
10 of 20 said, if I can't do face-to-face, what do I do on sales? Now, if we put sales and marketing together, which is what I would do, because I see them as the same thing, is that out of 20 people, there were 18 comments or indications on marketing and sales. So 18 to 20 is over 90%. So that was huge. Growth strategy had 7. And I'm going to address that as kind of my final piece. We're not going to get any prescriptions this week. We will start next week as we have a little bit more data.
Maybe even start trickling some of them out on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
in some different
Well, on the
posts.
growth strategy, I have some bizarre things to say, so
Huh,
I'm going
imagine
to
that.
start that. Yeah. Um, Info Solutions was 1, production operations was 2 of 20, and staffing was 2 of 20. Now, what other new challenges is your business facing based on the pandemic? And I had 6 here. And by the way, there is no pattern to having 6. It's just the way it shook out. Communications, customer interaction, customer rules, government rules, excuse me,
Hmm.
customer buying, customer relevance, and personal impact. Communications 2 of 20 was specifically about how do I keep my customers in the loop. Now, on customer interaction was how do I, it was more of, we're one-to-one, we're very personable. How do we do that now? Customer buying were concerns about, customers not honoring contracts. Do they have any money, etc. And then how do I stay relevant when the customer is distracted by everything else that's going on?
Hmm.
How do I stay relevant? So if we take 4 of 20 in customer interaction, 4 of 20 in customer buying, customer relevance at 2 of 20, 10 of 20. Half the responses you are concerned about your customers, what they're going through, or the nature of the relationship that you have with them.
Which says a lot, I think, to the business owners. I just got to throw that
Right.
in there that they care about relationships.
And I had 2 comments specifically on personal impact where people appear to be solopreneurs and now they're home with the kinder, the husband, the wife.
Hmm.
And so how do I run a business when, I'm basically organizing a 3-ring circus? Not that your business is not a 3-ring circus, so maybe when you go home and do it, you're adding another ring or two. I don't know. So those are the items that came out. I'm going to look at those, and I'm going to close this out on Sunday and then put together some prescriptions. We will put them on Facebook, and then we'll begin to bleed it out. Now, last thing is on growth strategy. And here is something I want you to ponder. I may talk about it as we go into the radio show, and I may not. It all depends upon where my stream of consciousness goes. And that is, we had what you would call a black swan event. And if you're a listener to the show, you've heard me do this many times. But if you don't know what a black swan is simply something that you know is going to happen, but it's totally unpredictable about exactly what it is and when is it going to happen. And it comes
Right.
from the concept of if you had 100 swans in a lake and they were all white and they were engaged in some sort of sexual congress, that at some point, because of recessive genes, there's going to be a black swan. Now, if you don't understand genetics, you're going to go, how do I get a black swan when all the swans are white? And the issue is that you get so many swans, you're going to get a black one.
It's kind of
And
like eye color.
right, so the issue then is, as the concept of black swan is, black swans come to the economy every once in a while. They're very predictable in terms of they happen. We don't know when, we don't know why, we don't know what.
Or the magnitude of, like
Right.
this one is the big
So the
one.
last one that hit us was 2007 when the banks got themselves in bad shape because of the government underwrote moral hazard by guaranteeing housing loans to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae that people shouldn't have got because they could not afford, and then the government guaranteed those loans. So that was pretty predictable. And now what we had is something that was not predictable. It was on nobody's radar 3 months ago. I mean, I
Right.
remember some rumblings
A couple of
at
weeks
the
ago.
end of 2019 about what was going on in China, about is this COVID thing or what they were calling coronavirus, which has to do with, if you take a picture of the virus, corona has to do with how the virus attaches itself to a cell. But nobody was really paying attention to it, and now we're in the middle of it. So here's what I want you to consider. In this type of environment, you need 2 strategies to survive. One is hyper-conservative,
Hmm.
and the other one is hyper-aggressive.
So they
Hyper-conservative.
seem like oxymorons.
Well, no, what you're basically doing is you're running 2 things at once, because on the hyper-conservative, what do you know works that you need to stick with?
So take less risks.
On the other hand, hyper aggressive is if you think things are going back to normal, you're not being hyper conservative. If you think they are, you're being hyper stupid. Because at the end of every black swan, it never goes back as to what it was. So the hyper aggressive is, what can I do that is really out of the box that's going to, because of this, is going to change how we
And
do
we've been
business.
seeing that a lot, haven't we?
Right.
That's pretty neat to see.
So anyway, I'm going to ponder that and look for some Facebook posts. So that's what I got on the data. And again, thank you to all the people, all 20 respondents we got.
Yes.
We're going to run it some more,
Love
and
you,
I'm going to keep
Facebook
collecting
friends.
it.
Love
Okay,
you, love
so
you.
thank you.
And if you want some fun, you can go to hashtag Corona Crazy. You'll see how my world is showing up. There's super fun posts out there. Hashtag Corona Crazy. Has nothing to do with sales.
Everything has something to do with sales.
No, Bill, I bought a box of potato flakes because just in case this turns into a potato famine.
Potato plates? I mean, a plate you can eat?
No, potato flakes. A box of potato. I have real potatoes at home, and I felt this compelling need to buy the large box of potato flakes because in my mind I'm thinking potato famine. Hashtag Corona Crazy.
You're not even Irish, are you?
I used to be.
Oh. How could you used to be Irish?
Long story. We got.
All right, we'll leave that there.
Hey George, are you ready?
All right, you ready, George? So for everybody that's on Facebook, we are now going live with the show. This is the same show that you're going to hear on Saturday and Sunday. On Saturdays at 10 o'clock in the morning, and on Sundays at 4 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And so with that, are you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. You're listening to Sales 2020, everything a business owner needs to know and do to generate more and better revenue, which means better customers with higher margins. This is show and podcast number 17 in our series on sales, and we're proud to partner with WNTW 92.7 FM and 820 AM out of Chester, Virginia, serving all of Central Virginia from Ashland in the north down to Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina in the south, from Amelia Courthouse in the west, all the way out to Tidewater, which is Newport News, Hampton in the east. And then on a good day, you can hear us on Virginia Beach. I'm William Eastman. I have the Deccan Con, and in the studio with me is my, I want to say co-host, but really host of the show, Donna Cundy. How you doing, Donna?
I'm great, Bill. It's good to get out and about a little bit. I'm so glad that radio is mission critical.
Yeah, it is. That's a good thing to know, is that actually we are as important as the hamburger shop open down the street. Okay. I feel so much better about myself. And by the way, we are heard every Saturday. So if you're listening to this right now on Thursday at 1:56 in the afternoon, obviously you're on Facebook. On the other hand, if it's not Thursday, it's Saturday, and it's about 10:06. Or it's Sunday, and it's about 4:06. You're listening to us on WNTW 92.7 FM, the voice of Central Virginia. Okay, so let's start. Our approach is simple. What we try to do for people is we say, look, you download the materials or show notes of what we're going to carry, then you listen to the show, and then you apply it. And if you got any comments or any help on that, you put comments on the blog page. So the way to play is you got to go to the website. So the website is 2020sales.solutions. That is 2020sales.solutions. When you get there, you'll see at the top of the navigation bar, click Tools, and go to Show Notes. And we are operating off the top, which is show number 17. So, Donna, what's going on with today's show?
Well, how timely it is that we are in a new month, and we've been doing our monthly themes, and this month's theme is virtual sales. So we're going to be talking this whole month. We're going to be talking about online funnels, email sales. Next week, we got a special segment on third quarter sales strategies, how to sell in this new world that we're in. And we got a special guest and marketing expert, Patrick McFadden, coming in. But today, Bill, we're going to be exploring phone sales. Phone sales.
My favorite. No, not really.
Well, specifically, we're going to cover fundamentals, adapting techniques to cultivate sensitivity, and product modifications that need to happen because of this corona world that we're in. So selling over the phone in our current economic condition is just slightly different than you might be used to. You're going to want to grab a pen, take some notes, because we are going to be talking about phone sales today, Bill.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Of all the things that I'd rather not do, it's phone sales. On the other hand,
but what do you do if you're stuck at home? You got to do something.
Well, where we are today is that, you know what? One of the things I learned a long time ago is that you actually get better at the things you don't want to do or don't know how to do because it's not natural.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
You go outside of your comfort zone.
well, I was a right hand. I played baseball my whole life through college, and I was right-handed, very biased right-handed, and my oldest son is left-handed, and I had to learn to hit left-handed so I could teach my son to hit left-handed.
The things we do for our kids.
And I'm
That's so
actually,
touching, really, actually, Bill. I didn't
oh,
think
you
you were
did.
that kind of guy.
I'm not. Actually, I'm a better left-handed hitter now
Uh-huh.
than I am a right-handed hitter because I actually have to think about what I'm doing.
Huh.
Right-handed is just normal.
Okay.
Just hit it.
Mm-hmm.
You see a ball, hit the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Left-handed, I got all these strategies and things I got to think about. So here's the thing with phone sales, and that is you may not like doing it, uh, but on the other hand, in a present environment, it may be the only technology that really, really is going to work, especially with the direction we're going to take it today, because we're going to be talking about phone sales, not to people that you currently have, because that's a little bit easier. You have a relationship. You can do things like Zoom, and we're going to talk about all that, not today, but in another show. But right now is you try to have a Zoom meeting with people that don't know you and see how many show up. I think we tried that.
Did we?
Yeah, haven't we tried some stuff? I know I've done it. I've tried to do webinars with people that don't know me, and nobody shows up, or very few. And so, what that says is that maybe the only way that I can get this kick started with people that don't know me
Mm-hmm.
is to get something, basically going on the phone.
Right.
And so, if you go to the show notes, and that's at 2020sales.solutions, that's 2020sales.solutions, what you'll see there is kind of our approach. Now, number one is our show's theme is attract the willing, solve their problems. So attract the willing means there are people out there who want to buy what you got, and then solve their problems means that really what is the role of sales?
It's
Most people,
problem solving.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
problem solving. Most people
Absolutely.
look at sales as kind of slimy. You think of the used car salesperson or something like that, and or somebody who's selling timeshares, and that's not fair, timeshares. But here's the
That's a
deal.
hard sale, especially now.
That's a tough one. Well, what makes sales slimy is if you're selling something to somebody that they can't afford or don't need. Now we have, you're kind of the flim flam man. You're kind of
Mm-hmm.
like Elmer Gantry coming through town. You give me money and I'll make it rain. But for most of us, sales is an incredible, powerful tool because what better customer service can I provide than I have a customer who has issues that need to be resolved, and my job is to resolve them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't, we shouldn't be talking to each other, which all gets me into the qualification. Now, what I did is I broke this down and said, okay, 3 steps. If I'm going to do that, if I'm going to attract the willing to solve their problems, number one is target. I got to figure out who I'm going after because I'm just not going to open. Of course, we don't have a phone book anymore, but let's go back in the day
You
when we
got
had a phone
Google.
book. Yeah, but you would go back. I actually worked places where they would start at AAA, Aardvark, and they would dial every phone number in the book.
Here's a tip, though, because I know Goochland still puts out a phone book because there's a lot of those people that don't have internet. Do you believe that?
Oh yeah, no, I
So they're
believe
still
that.
out there. You can get one.
Well, they're over a
Wipe it
certain
down.
they're a certain age, okay, and
No,
so
but everybody out in Goochland. Do you hear what I'm saying? They're out there.
I know people in Amelia. They got cell service.
Okay. Sorry.
Robert. Robert actually has a telephone and internet. I mean, it didn't get there the last week,
I
but
just know people in Goochland, and they
okay.
have phone books.
All right, all right. So the idea here is to target,
Yes.
and you can either come up with your imaginary customer and figure out what their buying persona is. So okay, here's the characteristics I want to sell to, or you can look at historical data of what you've got in your CRM, and we'll pump customer relationship management packages, whether it's cloud-based or it's a software on your computer. But absolutely, if you do not have some way of managing these accounts, a spreadsheet works if that's all you got, but I think you need to get beyond that because there's no way to go through historical data. What are you looking for is who has bought from you in the past, what have they purchased, and I'm looking for similar clients right now, or I should say prospects because they're not even close to clients. So that's on the target side. So it doesn't matter which one of those you pick right now for our conversation. Number 2 is we go to surround. And surround is a part of our messaging in that the more that you can surround your prospective customers with messages, not necessarily advertising. So advertising, yes, but even the advertising you do could be more informal more informal less about trying to sell something or push a product or a feature, and more about information. And there's a couple ways of doing that. So we're kind of getting at the boundary between old style and new style. So Donna, you want to talk about, how kind of what we see as the old way, the old world, new world?
Yeah, I'd love to, because I kind of came up with 3 topics for today's show as well. And I'm thinking moving forward with sales, there is going to be this idea that there's old world selling, which is our fundamentals, selling primer, if you will. And that doesn't change. The fundamental goal of solving problems is not going to change in sales. Lives are going to continue to change in the near term, but sales, it's going to be the same as they've gone on for centuries. But in this new world that we find ourselves in, the approach that we take to selling is going to change. So I'm thinking of new world selling strategies, and I think I'm going to be pushing on every show. There's the old world primer fundamentals. You got to know these as a salesperson, and then there's these new strategies that are coming up because of the world that we live in. So, for instance, if you're selling a product, there's a good chance you're going to have to modify your product going forward right now.
Unless you're selling respirators, you're selling face masks,
Well, but
hand cleaner.
like I'm seeing, what is it? Was it the car dealership that's now doing masks? Right?
Yeah.
Somebody stopped doing their production line and they're changing it to
Yeah, My Pillow. My Pillow totally stopped all of their
your pillow
production.
makes sales.
My My Pillow, the guy who does My Pillow.
That's an awesome pillow.
Yeah, now he's making masks. So he's 75% of all.
Oh,
his
so that's a
production.
company.
That's a company called My Pillow,
Okay.
and he has stopped making pillows. He's making masks, and so
That's really cool.
He's talking about making 75,000 masks a week.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So focusing back again, there's going to be some modifications. So the fundamental goal of solving problems hasn't changed, but your customers' problems have. So before picking up the phone, take a look at your offer, change, modify it, make sure it matches current needs. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about today for a new word selling strategy is adapting techniques, because it's really going to be about cultivating sensitivities. The pushy salesman isn't going to work. We have consumers right now that are afraid, and within that fear, I'm seeing 2 different sides to that. One is a financial fear that I'm going to run out of money, the all my investments, yada yada. So there's this scarcity mindset, and then there's also this fear of supply chain. If I don't buy it now, is it going to be there when I need it?
And so now the idea is that fear, the way I'm looking at dealing with fear now is, how can my offer or doing business with us, how can I arrest some of those fears?
Why would you want to arrest?
Slow down,
Thank
stop,
you.
make them feel better.
Those are better words.
Okay, if you say so.
We're talking about fear, and you want to arrest.
Well, arrest has many. I apologize for reading too much.
Yes, too smart. So anyway, focus on relationships. Be the trusted advisor, and ask good questions to help the client come to their natural conclusion that you are the solution to their product or to their problem. You are the solution to their problem right now.
Okay. Now, so we get into the new world of selling. This has nothing to do with selling, what I'm about to say. So all business owners, perk up your ears, because this has to do with your website. Because if you're saying to yourself, all right, we're going to dial, we don't have a phone book to dial from anymore, where do I get the phone numbers? Where do I get the names? Well, now, let's take a look at your website. Who's visited your website? Can you tell who's been there? Do you realize that you can actually tell who's been to your website? Most people don't. And it's not contained in Google Analytics. Google Analytics can kind of say to you, you had 10 visitors in the last hour, and they're all from Colonial Heights. They'll get that close, but it's not going to really give you anything else. So here are some things that you can do with your website, because there are website trackers. There's software. It's not really software. It's online stuff, but we'll call it software for right now, that are called website trackers who can tell actually who's been to your website.
By name?
Yeah.
And does it gives like contact data and stuff?
Well,
That's just
it gives
creepy.
you enough.
I mean, I guess it's good.
Well, it
It's
gives
good
you
for
it
sales,
gives
right?
you enough data that you can go track it down. So, for example, I'm just going to give you two companies out there to do this. Number one is Leadfeeder, and the other one is SEMrush, SEMRUSH. We're not shilling for them. We're not advertising for them. We don't have a deal.
Mm-mm.
But those are two that we've used. And so what do? They take a look at cookies, for example. And everybody knows what cookies are.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Those are basically you here, and it's kind of placed in the browser. Then there's super cookies, which is beyond the browser, and depending upon how you set up your firewall, it's in the computer. So I can tell what sites you've looked at. Now, why am I doing that? I'm trying to figure out what, in fact, you're looking for. If you're doing a search for something and you wound up on our site, what were the search terms that you put in?
And it'll tell you that?
Oh, yeah. You can get, now, from Google Analytics, you can get the search terms,
Mm-hmm.
but that's all you can get. If I do this correctly, I can tell what sites you were at before you came here to see our site to say, they looked at my competitors or they looked at people in different industries.
Why is that important?
Well, I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out what they're looking for, how they're buying, and who they are.
Okay.
So this is all data I can get out of this. There's things like embedded scripts that are put into websites
Mm-hmm.
where that will give me
Yeah, like the Facebook, you can get those little
yeah,
things, and
right.
Google.
And they put them into the web page, and it pulls that information out for you. I can also have something what's called fingerprints, and I can scrub the browser. Now, all easy, doneable things that you can do to your website. If you're not a web person, get your webmaster to do that. But here is the deal. You can find out where people have been, and you can backtrack to find out who's been at the site. So now you have a list. Now, not only that, but if your website's any good, that's the indirect list we just talked about. Let's talk about the direct list. You have contact forms. All right, you got a form on there that says contact us or subscribe. Our website does. We have two. One is to subscribe, which means that once a week we're going to tell you what programming is coming out and when you can catch the show and what to download and when it's going to be up. And then the other one is contact us, where it's just like you got a question, a comment, etc.
Well, we have three because we have the survey too.
Well, we have the survey. That's a different one. I didn't put it on my list, but certainly you could do that. Why would you have a blog on your website? This is the reason you would have a blog, because you'll empower people to write comments on the blog, which gives you the ability to get back to them and say, gee, I really appreciate that. Or you could say something else that I won't say here. And then a lot of websites have a chat section or a pop-up when people come onto the site.
Yes.
And
Very
you can
annoying.
say, hey, can I help you? Now, here's the deal. I can get a phone book. Let's assume that they're still around, and I can start at Aardvark and start dialing. Or I can get a list of people who have expressed some interest, though willing,
Mm-hmm.
to look at what we've got to offer, and I can build my list there. And so where I wanted to take this before we go on to our first break is simply this, is that you can get this information. You do not have to buy a list. Buying a list works, but I'd recommend right now, before you go look at a list, go through your own data. Use your CRM to figure out what's the profile of the right type of customer, and take a look at the data from your website to say, all right, who's been visiting, what have been the searches, and you have a list of people potentially to follow up on.
And that's free resources right there too. You don't have to spend money for a list, because cash is something that we really want to, as a business owner, not spend a lot of right now.
Right. You may have had to pay your webmaster for all the indirect stuff to
Yeah.
capture that, but all that's out there. It's all legal, and it's all ethical. I don't see anything unethical about that. If you
I
come to
like
my website and you read my stuff, I have a right to know who you are. Okay?
Yeah,
That's
like
a fair trade.
come into my storefront. You walk inside. I should.
Yeah. You want to read a magazine? Maybe you need to buy it first. Okay. All right. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. So you're listening to Sales 2020. Our website is 2020sales.solutions, and we are on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM, the voice of Central Virginia, and we'll be right back. All right. So what do you think? First, I got rolling there, and I forgot that you had your piece to do. So the people on Facebook, you're seeing behind the scenes live. This is what happens when we both get on a roll. So you're
I got
cool
my
with?
stuff in there. I'm good.
All right.
I want to do my two stories. Can I do in the 8 minutes? Can I do my two stories of a good example and a bad example, and then
Yeah, because I can use that because where I'm going into the close is the next piece, and that's where the bulk of this is going to be, is how to set up the phone system.
okay.
Yeah, we do. Thank you. Um, how do we set up the close? So this is now really all into the how-to
Mm-hmm.
of how to structure the phone system. And I have some interesting data at the bottom from Funnel Survey I came across today about the metrics. And one of the things I love about sales is that with the metrics, it's not hard for you, once you've got a set of metrics put together, to figure out how many phone calls you got to make.
Mm-hmm.
Now it may be that they're not going to be any fun making them, or you got an attitude about making a call.
It is
But the
what it
deal
is.
is, and for example, one of the metrics we got in here is that it takes about every 10 calls you get through, and you get somebody live you can follow up with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how many calls can I make in a day? How many calls can I make in a week? How many contacts can I get? And so what you're doing here is that if you're taking a list that we provided, methodology, and you're coming back into that, these are people who probably already visited your site. So the 10 to 1 number might actually be a whole lot better.
Okay.
Okay. All
So
right.
you're gonna do
Anything else?
that in the 10 minute then?
I'm
In the
gonna
third
I'm
segment?
gonna do that after you. I'm on the what?
Well, it won't take 8 minutes to tell my two stories. I know that.
You're 8 minutes. Oh, no, I'll let you tell stories.
They won't be.
Aha.
They won't be 8 minutes. Getting all choked up, are you, Bill?
A Donna story. Already, I'm um I'm I'm
Should I
choking.
tell the bad one first or the good one first?
Um, I think tell the bad one first.
Okay.
The probably a better training technique is tell people
What
what it
not to do?
isn't,
Yes.
and then tell them what it is.
Okay.
All right, you ready? All
Yes.
right, so here we go. We're going to be back on in 3, 2, 1, and we're back. You listen to Sales 2020. Everything a business owner needs to know to grow their business, especially in the environment we're in today. You are listening to, and we are happy to partner with WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM, better known as the voice of Central Virginia. And this is show and podcast number 17. If you want to follow along, you need to go to the website, unless, of course, you're operating a vehicle, and that's 2020sales.solutions, 2020sales.solutions. Okay, and then when you go there, you'll see the toolbar at the top, the navigation bar. Click Tools and open up the show notes and look at the show notes for show 17. Okay, so with that, Donna, let's pick it up. So you were talking about some examples before the break of good and bad. So which one? Where do you want to start?
Well, I'm gonna start with what I would consider not a good example of phone sales. Um, both of these examples just happened last week. They're real examples that happened to me. The first one, Bill, came from a LinkedIn message, not from somebody that I was connected with on LinkedIn, but
No, this is good. Everybody, you got to pay attention to this one.
the title of the inbox message was possible speaking engagement, which is intriguing for me because I am a speaker, and has basically said I'd like to chat with you about a possible speaking engagement, and he gave his name and phone number. And so I gave him a call. And first of all, I want to say if you're making phone sales, whoever dials is the one in control. So by him giving his phone number right away and allowing me to make the phone call, I was in the driver's seat of the entire conversation. It's just a little mental thing that happens. So when you're thinking about phone sales, it can be really easy to say, here's my phone number, you call me. But now you're giving up control of the conversation. And then
And then,
I make the phone call and I say, "Hey, hi, this is Donna. How is this?" I said the guy's name, and he said, "Yeah, are you Donna from the dating service?" I said, "No, I'm Donna from LinkedIn." Oh, okay. So my point in saying that, Bill, is that if you are recruiting on LinkedIn and somebody calls your phone and you answer it and you're you're also recruiting in a dating service app, you probably want to have a different response to that because that was a red flag to me.
Yeah, especially when you get onto the remainder of the story, it really gets kind of weird.
Yeah. As we continued the conversation, because I thought this was going to be an interesting one, especially having a radio show, um, the product that we were selling was actually under the guise of marriage coaching with a focus on sex. So, what the guy wanted me to do was travel the country with him. We were going to fill stadiums twice a month and talk to couples about sex. Okay. So I'm still playing the cat and mouse. I said, "You have something that you can email me?" And he said, "No, not really." So I'm thinking in my head now, you're trying to sell me to go across the country with you. I don't even know you. We're going to talk about sex in stadiums during a pandemic. Not happening. Then after that, it was, well, maybe we could do a radio show together. So desperation didn't work. My point in this, the key things I want to say here that were not good. First of all, the good. Yes, it was a good initial email. It was enough to make me make the phone call. Not good. The fact that I made the phone call meant that I had the power in the conversation. When I answered the phone and asked about dating service versus LinkedIn, not good. Wanted to go cross country to do speaking engagements, but didn't really have the whole product in a way that could be explained to me, was definitely a no. And then to follow up in desperation that maybe we could do something else. No, 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 no.
Yeah, and in fact, you and this guy you don't know are going to go to churches and do this.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. Because that was the other thing that there's a definite need for it in churches, and that, again, with social distancing, with the subject matter, and in a church, just screams no. Maybe I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he was sounded very passionate about what he did. um,
I'm saying nothing. I practiced today several times today. I've had the opportunity to go, I got a great follow-up on that one. And I went, no, probably not. So he was passionate about his idea, huh?
Yeah, very. Whatever you're selling, passion is good, but just make sure that you can let the other person know about what it is that, you can get them on board with it, which he totally couldn't do with me. Now, the good one, I get a phone call. I make a monthly purchase with a company, and the rep that I work with made a phone call, and she started out by asking, how am I doing? How is my family and I holding up in this corona environment, which really touched my heart because she really sounded like she cared. I knew that she cared. We were talking, that's the relationship thing. We had that connection first. And I don't think that she would have gone on to sell to me if I had said things were horrible. It would have just been, I'm thinking about you. I'll keep you right. But I said everything was good. And so then she wanted to say, she went on to say, I'm not sure if you're aware of these new products that we have that have been really popular during this outbreak. And there was a hand sanitizer and there was some of the things. And so she listed about 3 products, told me how they were relevant in today's situation that we're in, and why I would want to make sure that I got some of those, had them in stock. She then went on to say, can I help you place your order? So I don't even have to do it. She would place the order for me. Man, that's
And that's
easy.
a nice presumptive sale, too.
Yeah. And I said I was good. I knew how to do the order. I was familiar with the products. And before she hung up the phone, she said, I know that you love these products and I know you find them beneficial. Who else do you know would be a good fit? Can you make that connection for me? Perfect modeled sales conversation from beginning to end.
Okay, so the differences between the two, as we highlight those, because we're coming up on a hard break at the bottom of the hour. The differences on the one, totally tone deaf, right?
Yeah, he had no idea. I don't think he even knew what he was selling. He just had an idea. He says, I can't understand why I can't get a woman to do this with me. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're even selling.
Well, also is that
Besides
to
sex.
make that type of offer to a woman you don't know, most of the women I know are like, You're up to something.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, this is
Just
not
no.
this is not a business proposition here.
Nope.
And so, but also is that nothing was well thought through.
Not at all.
He didn't have any real answers for you. Where the other salesperson really smart, because one is she was testing to find out whether or not you were even open to the idea of being sold to.
Right.
And so if you weren't, she wasn't going to do that. And then number two is she was doing a really nice presumptive sale of talking about, well, I have some stuff that will take care of your pain, which is, basically you have something to offer that people want, and I can do the order for you so we can, save time.
Yeah. I'll help you out, and it'll
And
win-win for
I
everybody.
love presumptive closes because she didn't say, do you want to buy?
Mm-mm.
She said, can I help you with the order, assuming you're going to order?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good sales technique.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, two good examples. I'm looking forward to the examples you got for next week.
They just keep coming.
I
They
know.
come out at night.
I don't know. Maybe you need to get off of social media. Okay.
It was LinkedIn, Bill.
All right. I guess that is social media. Anyway, we're coming up on our break at the bottom of the hour. You've been listening to Sales 2020, everything a business owner needs to generate more and better revenue. This is show and podcast number 17, heard every Saturday at 10 a.m., Sunday at 4 p.m. on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 a.m. from Chester, Virginia, the voice of Central Virginia. And we'll be back.
Okay.
All right, that was good. And you said it wouldn't take 8 minutes to do your
It
two
did,
stories?
though.
It
Yeah,
did.
I know. I just, there was so much wrong with that guy.
Well, and you probably being pretty nice.
I was. And I didn't even mention how I made the connection with him. I sent him off to Brian.
Well, that always helps. You could have sent them to your husband, but instead you sent them to the program director here at the station.
Yeah, you can be on his show.
Well, if you knew Brian, you'd know that Brian could handle that pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what we're going to do when we come back from the break is I'm going to pick it up where we left off, and I'm going to get into the details. Now that you gave those two examples, I'm going to go into the details on the show notes of how to go through this. And so I'm probably going to go through it a little quicker than most people would like because it's pretty detailed. But some of this I think is pretty clear. In other words, it's common sense. Other things are more of, gee, that's an interesting insight.
So are you gonna set it up as this is old world fundamentals that most people should know, or
I'm going to set this up as kind of a mix of between old world, new world, because I'm not sure that there's new world phone selling. I think the new world stuff was where you're getting the list from.
I don't know. I think the new world is also how you're packaging your products. Like this guy did not package his product very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go to how you bundle the package. That what I'm going to be
Okay.
talking about here
And the
is
focus on relationships. Those
well,
are
I'm
my
talking
two
about the
things.
techniques of the call,
Okay.
not necessarily what you're doing.
Let's do it.
I think we definitely have to have a show on how to look at Corona or COVID and say how do I rebundle my offer, and that'll be part of that growth strategy of where do you get hyper aggressive and where do you get hyper conservative.
Okay.
And it's called the barbell strategy. Just think of a barbell with weights on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Only the super conservative, hyper conservative, is maybe 90 to 95% of the weight,
Mm-hmm.
and the hyper aggressive is only 5 to 10%. But it's the 5 or 10% that matters. It makes the difference.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go back to the show here. So are you prepared?
I am, because you're going to do mostly the 10 minutes, and then I just want to do this application at the end, kind of as a wrap up.
Okay, you got that sales as service. Who'd you get that from?
Get what from?
Sales as service.
That's what we talk about all the time.
I know. That's mine.
You can't coin that.
Oh, I didn't coin that. I just wrote a book on it. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. And we're back. You're listening to Sales 2020. Everything a business owner needs to do and know to generate more and better revenue. This is show and podcast number 17, heard every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sundays at 4 p.m. on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 a.m., the voice of Central Virginia. And in order to play, you need to go to our website, 2020sales.solutions. I'll say that a little bit slower. 2020, meaning the year, sales, and our new extension is .solutions.
Solutions.
And when you get there, the navigation page, you'll see tools, click tools, and below tools, you'll see show notes for today's show. And it's show 17, so that's all you got to pull down. Plenty of stuff there, though, if you want to wander around later on. All right. So, Donna, what did we cover in the first half of the show before we get rocking here?
I really love when you do that, Bill. We talked
I
about.
do it every week.
I know, and I should know that. We talked about the old world selling primer that phone sales, there's fundamentals to phone sales that really have not changed, even though we're in this new selling world. And then we talked about some new world selling strategies that you might need to make some modifications to your offer and definitely cultivate more sensitivity and relationships before asking for the sale. How's that?
Okay. Excellent. All right. So now, where I took it before Donna's stories was that I went through kind of a three-step process. So the first step is who you want to target. So, because sometimes you got to do some homework around this, who you want to target. Number two is the whole concept of surrounding them. And then where can you get this data? And that's where we kind of mixed old world and new world in that if you structured your website correctly, you're collecting the data that you need so you have a phone list. Now I'm going to talk about not necessarily how you got the list. I'm going to talk about then this close. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to close a deal. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to begin the process of closing a deal. Some of you are lucky enough to have sell the type of products and services that can be closed in one. My experience is I've never had a job where you could close it in one conversation. It was always
don't want to
two,
try
three,
to
or four.
close this sex thing on the first date.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great analogy. Is that
Let's travel the country together
yeah?
and talk about sex.
And talk about sex. Let's close that deal right now. Okay. All right. There we go.
You have to listen to the first half if you missed that one.
All right. So this is all about the phone. This is all about talking to people you don't necessarily have a relationship with. You may have a name, but you don't know them. Okay. So the first thing is this may be a cold call to them from you, but it can't be a cold call in terms of what you know about them. If you're calling somebody
Right.
that
You
you
gotta
know
do your
nothing
research.
about whatsoever,
Yeah, Google them first.
good blanking luck. Okay. And so what you have to have is some sense of what the buying persona, and we talked about this, buying persona is nothing more than how do these people make buying decisions so that if they're going to make a purchase, how do I get my company and my offer is part of that thought process. And if I can do that, then how do I influence that? But if they don't know about me, they're not going to think about me. First of all, they got to be aware before they can think about it. So, and I want to make sure that I know about them. And if you hit the previous, you can go back and look at the show notes or listen to the first 15, 20 minutes of the show. I talked about what you can do with your website to scrub out data that you really need so that you can begin to understand who's visiting your website. You can do the same with social media, but I didn't want to focus on that because this is not a technology show. We have been talking about that all day. All right, so what do I want to know about these individuals? One is who are they in the decision process? Now, I'm not going to know this ahead of time. I'm trying to figure out as I formulate my questions. Are they the decision maker? Are they out collecting data for other people? But who are they relative to the buying decision? Okay. And then what potentially, if I'm making a business sale, if this is a B2B, what are the potential pain points? And we talked about those in the beginning of the show. Oh, no, we did that on Facebook Live. So I make sure we close with the data that we collected from the survey.
Oh, yeah,
Is
right.
that what are people saying that's really bothering them? And I think the pain points right now in this environment are pretty obvious. Is that I can't talk to my customers directly. I can't have those face-to-face meetings we used to have. They're not walking in the door. We're not having that. And so, how do I sell to people, especially if what I offer is something that requires their attendance, and I can't bring them in? I mean, all my favorite bars in Richmond are closed.
And you mentioned too about Facebook. So 2020 sales solutions on Facebook, and you can hear and see a whole lot more behind the scenes. So go and check us out on 2020
Okay.
sales.solutions. Just a little plug for Facebook because I like it.
Oh, yeah, and if you got any questions there, I'll answer that or go to the website, read the blog.
I'll answer them
because
too.
really the show notes is part of our blogging system. Put a comment in. So next thing I want to do is kind of get at what are the issues affecting their business. And what I want to do here is I want to provide some unique insight because what's going to have to happen pretty quickly is that once I make this phone call, I have to create a certain amount of curiosity in whoever takes the call. Now, I learned this eons ago, and I talked about this when we were doing that other taping for YouTube, when we're talking about the how do you read the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I found worked very, very well when I was doing large corporate consulting is that I would look at a company as a stockbroker, and I would take a look at are they a buy, a hold, or a sell, and what are the relevant issues. And if I was an investor, what would I think of the company? And it gave me a number of insights that I wouldn't necessarily have. And believe it or not, there are a lot of people at senior levels in these large companies that don't have those insights. I would also take a look because this type of analysis would tell me about the competition and what are the strengths and weaknesses of the competition. So basically, you look at it as a stockbroker, you take a company, and then you look at their major competitors and you look at them, and guess what you know? You know where they stand relative to everybody else. And what I found is when I went to the meeting or I made the phone call and we got in a conversation, I knew stuff that they didn't know. They thought I had spies in the company or I was connected to the board. Now, the point here is I'm not trying to demonstrate that I'm smart, though that's what you may want to do in this conversation. I got their curiosity up, and what they knew is they always took my call because they always knew I had something to give them that they didn't know that they needed to know or should have had.
That's
And I
interesting.
didn't do it in a way to make them feel bad. It was just like, God, every time I talk to this guy, I pick up something new. And of course, they've got something that they can use inside the company. So if I'm going to be successful at this, I have to figure out what unique insights I can provide in this conversation, and I provide them early because I may not be talking to the owner of the company or the decision maker. I may be having to go through a gatekeeper.
Mm.
And so, how do I get the gatekeeper going? Oh, wow. Because when they refer you, they've got to feel comfortable that they've done the right thing.
And they're
And,
probably getting a lot of, if they're
oh,
still in the office, they're probably getting a ton of calls. So
I
you
can't
got to
tell you
be
how many
really
emails I've
on your
got
game.
about how I can COVID
Oh my
19 proof
gosh.
my company. It's already
Yes.
happened.
Yes.
Okay. So, you need to do your homework because not only do you have to have this, but a little later
You got
on,
to
I'll go into a
differentiate
detail.
to get through.
You've got to practice this. I think
Hmm.
this is, they talk about entrepreneurs need to have the elevator speech. Well, this is an elevator speech. You need to have a tight 45-second boom, boom, boom.
Hmm.
Concise, direct, compact, that somebody goes, wow, you need to talk to the boss,
Right.
okay, if you don't wind up getting them. One of the things that you can do in doing that is that if you are not a subscriber to Hoover's or Dun& and Bradstreet, and they're owned by the same company, Hoover's owns both of those, I would recommend their bottom line, their bottom level, if you're selling the business now, at about $100 a month because it'll give you research on any industry.
Would they do that now or would they wait until we're past
Well,
this?
they could wait to pass. What I'm saying is that
Just do it.
you could buy this research
Hmm?
relatively cheap
Okay.
to say, where is the industry? The other thing it'll tell you things like if you're talking to a company, because right now you're worried about cash flow.
Hmm.
They can give you best practices on cash flow and cash flow numbers. In other words, maybe the industry average for a particular type of operation is 62 days. Well, now I have a talking point because is your cash flow there or is it worse or is it better than that? And again, this is just ammo I'm arming myself with so that the call is easier. All right. From this, I'm going to create a list of questions that demonstrate that I have a great deal of knowledge about whatever we're going to talk about and that it will allow them to explore the pain points. So obviously, these are going to be open-ended questions, not closed, because I don't want yes, no. Yes, no doesn't tell me anything. What I want from them is a demonstration that I understand what pickle they're in. I understand what problems you're having right now because you can't get customers to come in the door. The government has said you can't stay open. You can't, physically see
Yeah.
people. So how do I run an online business? Well, if I haven't really put any time and energy into it, I've known for years I've got to run an online business, and now suddenly today,
Yeah, a lot of restaurants are doing that now. They're just scrambling to
right?
get it up there.
And I think our last two shows we talked about what they could do. But here's the bottom line is that I want to list the questions so that I can identify the pain points. I can validate what I know about the client, as well as demonstrate to them that I am somebody that they should be talking to. Okay. And from that, what I want to do is I want to create a script that I'm going to follow without sounding like I'm following a script.
Exactly.
Okay? But before we do that, why don't we take a short break here?
Okay.
And when we come back, what I'll do is I'll go through that and I'll close this out. So you've been listening to Sales 2020 on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM, the voice of Central Virginia. This is show and podcast number 17, and we'll be right back. Okay.
10 minutes goes fast.
You're not kidding. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit him now with, here's what I've got. So you might want to go before me. You want to raise curiosity. You want to provide context. You want to ask permission to continue. You want to ask questions that define the pain points. You want to test your close, like she did with, I'll do the order for you. And then if there's a next step, get a schedule. So that's where I was going to go with that. And then I have specific warming them up, warming yourself up, things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So would it be better for you to lead when we come back?
I can. I just got 8 quick things to go through. It won't take much time.
All right. Why don't you, because I think you're going to anticipate some of the stuff I've got.
Okay.
Then I can just reinforce it. All right?
Yes.
All right. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
3, 2, 1. And we're back. You listen to Sales 2020. Everything a business owner needs to know and do to generate more and better revenue. This is show and podcast number 17, heard every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 4 p.m. on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 a.m., the voice of Central Virginia. In order to play, you need to go to our website, 2020sales.solutions. That's 2020sales.solutions. And solutions is actually a valid extension.
Because we're using it.
Well, yeah. And so that's where we're at. And what we've been covering in the show, and we're on our last segment here, is that we've been talking about kind of a mix of old world, new world, of how do you sell using the phone when you can't see people.
Hashtag Corona crazy.
Okay. Hey, that's a good one. Do we
That's
have
what
it?
I've been using it on my personal page because I've been going.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So
That's
what do you
I've
got?
been saying all this whole show, Bill.
Well, you didn't say hashtag Corona crazy.
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. I didn't. I guess I
You
was.
never listen to me. It's okay. Let's get back to business here.
And I thought we just worked together.
So
Go.
it's my turn. Okay. I wanted to talk about just a couple of application tips when we're selling on the phone, especially now in this hashtag Corona crazy world that we're in. 8 of them to be specific. Number 1, just always remember that sales is service. Help clients succeed. It's not about you. It's not about your quotas or your numbers. Always make the conversation about your clients. And you heard how that, in the example that I gave earlier, that really was how it showed up. First, how are you and your family doing? Then when I said we were okay, the sales conversation went forward. Put energy into existing clients. You had given some ideas on how to find new clients, but also at a time like this, you've already built the know, like, and trust. Go back and revisit your existing clients and see what you have to offer.
Oh,
to
yeah.
them.
And we're going to do a show on that because that is so much more effective.
Yes. One thing to remember, salespeople are used to working independently, so are entrepreneurs, but a lot of our clients now are working under a new operating rhythm, being from this working from home, and the kids are not in school, and all these things are happening. So be sensitive to that as you're making your sales calls. Make sure that all content conveys your core values as you come out. I think core values are a big thing for people right now. Yeah. Use video when possible. So if you can get the phone conversation to a Zoom call, then you can connect even more with the face-to-face. Maintain your focus throughout this whole thing. Do more listening than talking so that you can solve their problems. A lot of times, I think in the old world of selling, we can do presentations, but in this newer world, people need to be heard first. So try and get them talking so you can really find out what their problem is and solve that problem. And then the last tip that I have, Bill, is to practice sales yoga. Take some deep breaths and just stay calm.
Okay. Thank you. Because I think I'm going to kind of cover those a little bit different, but
Of course.
of course. And so what we've done so far is we've talked about the phone call. We've talked about the homework that you've got to do. And the last thing I want to do on that is to pick up where Donna left off, and you want to create a script. So you've taken what Donna said. Here's the things that you're looking at as you build a script that you're going to follow. Number one is if you don't create curiosity quickly, you're done. So all the homework and everything we talked about becomes critical, and that's why I would practice this. I don't want to call it an elevator speech because that is so overused. If you've been to enough networking or chamber of commerce meetings, you probably have had the elevator speech to where it makes you puke. But the idea here is that rehearse, 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 so you can say directly and clearly why somebody would be interested in talking to you.
Not reading every word, but
Yeah.
just having what's coming next.
Well, you've rehearsed it so much that you don't need to read it because you
Yes.
just do it. Number two is what you're looking to do is provide context to the call. Why is it that you're calling? All right? Obviously you're a salesperson, you're a sales weenie, as we used to call them, and you're calling up, but you want to give some context. Number three is you want to ask permission to continue the conversation because
That's right.
this is one that drives me nuts, is that you call me, I'm working on something, I decide to take the call,
It's
and
an
now you want
interruption.
20 minutes of my time? Good luck.
Yeah, that doesn't even work when you're talking about sex because that guy was wrong.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad you said that because I wouldn't have picked that up. Um, so you want permission to continue, all right? So that you're respecting their time, and if they can't talk anymore right now, then let's get a time that we can talk. The key part of this, other than is your opening on creating the curiosity and providing context. The key here is now having a couple of questions, and this is also something do not do off the top of your head. The most important thing you can do is ask questions because you convey to somebody by the questions that you ask whether you know what you're talking about, whether you understand them. And you want to help them explore their pain points because sometimes the customer really doesn't understand exactly what they need to do. They know it hurts, and in the conversation, almost kind of like, Socrates, the Socratic method, is you help by the questions, help the customer come to a conclusion. And typically, if you picked well, the conclusion they come to is you. You also want to test your close. And testing the close is nothing more than, gee, can we talk next week on this? Or even better, I've got some ideas here. Can I send you an email, something you can review? Or can I send you a link to our website that's got some information to see if that kind of helps? I want to test the close because if they're interested in going further, they're going to say yes to you. If they say no, well, you basically have done what you needed to do. Not everybody's going to buy, or not everybody's in a position right now to buy. Okay, but at least you've done what you needed to do, and
Start
you're part.
cultivating the
Right,
relationship
and
because
you're
you don't know when that'll go, where that'll go.
right. You're now part of the buying decision. They may not be making it today. And then finally, is schedule the next steps. Make sure that when the phone call is over, everybody knows what happens next. Don't say, "Well, I'll get back to you. I'll call you Tuesday at 2:00. Does that work for you?" If it doesn't, they'll give you an alternative time. And if they won't, then you know that basically put this on drip. And drip marketing means you send something out. Okay. All right. So the call itself. Now we got all that set up. All right. You want to warm? Do you want to warm them up? So I don't have an answer to this in terms of a right answer. Do you send them an email ahead of time that you're going to call them? I think not right now, only because we're overburdened with email. But I've seen this work.
But like, if you go back to the LinkedIn example that I had, Bill, that the guy, that was the one thing that he did do right, was he had a very short, compelling reason to inbox me
Mm-hmm.
with an offer.
Right.
What he didn't do right was allow me to make the phone call to him. He didn't start that conversation to build
Okay.
a relationship. But I would say there, if you're going into a market like that, you could just as easily hit somebody in an inbox that way too.
Yeah, and it would be something like, I noticed that you were at our website and you read our blog on X, and something other than, I'd like to follow up with more information.
Yeah.
Something really short and sweet, but that's a judgment call.
Yeah. I mean, back to that guy. He looked on my LinkedIn profile, said I'm a speaker, put two and two together that a lot of speaking engagements are closed. Hey, I might have a speaking engagement for you. Yeah, you got my attention.
Okay. Also on this, and Donna talked about this, kind of the sales yoga. You know, do you want to warm them up? That's a good question. You definitely want to warm yourself up.
Hmm.
In other words, people can hear whether you're smiling or not.
Yeah, they
People,
can sense fear too, just like dogs.
yeah, or I'm doing this because I got to, and I got a quota, and I got to make 15 calls the next, next day. People can tell, and they're not going to buy from you. So, and never forget. Let's pump yourself pump yourself up on the positive side. Never forget that you are providing an essential role to the people you call. Because if you've done your homework and you've qualified the list, you have solutions to their problems. And so you're doing a very, very valid service. There is no reason to ever apologize for being in sales. Again, except if you're trying to sell something to somebody
That they don't
that
need.
and they can't afford.
That's right.
Okay? I talked about the smile. People can hear it. Be concise and direct. And that's why I say that you can wing it on some pieces of the phone call, but there are parts of the phone call you need a script, and you need to rehearse the script enough that you're not reading it.
And direct, like I showed you a message I had gotten today where four back and forths, and I still don't have the link. I've asked for the link. I've asked to be
Yeah.
tagged. Just do it. Just ask.
Yeah.
Just ask for the sale.
Yeah. In other words, somebody's trying to sell Donna, and Donna's going, "Yeah, I'm interested," and they don't make it easy.
No, I got to do research. I got to. I no.
I'm already done. I'm already not interested in the offer because I'm already busy. Understand that this is the very first contact. You are building a relationship. Manage your expectations. Is that what you're trying to do? Is trying to identify the pain points, learn something about the client, get them comfortable with you to where you're reducing the risk of them moving forward with you, and especially if they're fearful, risk is a huge issue. Okay, and then just work your list of questions. Now, when it's over, after the call, if you don't have a CRM, shoot yourself. Okay,
No,
I'll
don't
take
do
that back.
that.
I'll take that back.
Just get a CRM.
Get a CRM.
Be kind to people.
We will. Well, if you're in business and you're selling and you got more than 5 clients and you don't have a CRM,
You do some research
you
and
need
you get
to
yourself
look
a
in the
CRM
mirror and
and
take off the dunce hat.
don't listen to Bill. He's being mean. You're
I'm
doing
not being
okay. Get yourself a CRM.
I've never seen anybody have effective sales where they were not managing.
They might be new. The world
I
is
know.
rocked on its heels right now, Bill. We got to be a little nice.
All right, you be nice. I would say to you, there are so many good ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
Your problem is,
And a lot of them are free.
well, or to get features, but I mean, some of them are like $25 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, you can make that go because you can customize them. The one that we're using fits right into Gmail is Streak, and it's what $25 a month, $24 a month,
No, not. It's a little bit more than that.
maybe 30. Okay,
But you can have a free version of it for now, if your income is not where it needs to be because of the Rona.
and you can dance around it. Now, basically, the issue is you got to have some place to put the notes, and
Yes.
now if you are working this off of a computer rather than calling them on the phone, but calling with a computer, and you're doing a headset, then what does that mean? Or you're using your phone with a headset and you got the computer, is that I don't even have to add notes at the end of the call because I'm taking notes during the call, which is my preference. I prefer doing that, and that's also where the script is, but however you do it, get those notes in there and make sure that if there's anything scheduled, to schedule it so that you don't forget going the next day going, I thought I was going to do, what was it we were going to do with that client? I would send them a thank you email as a follow-up, and I would also pen a handwritten note. I have a series of cards. I go to the museum, and I buy cards of the type of art I like,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll put a thank you and to send it to somebody. I'll guarantee you they will open the card. It will not be junk mail. It will not be thrown in the trash.
It
It'll
might
be open.
sit and wait a little bit right now until the germ thing, but yes,
And the idea of it is, how often do you get something written from somebody?
not too often.
You don't.
It's a great
okay?
idea.
All right. So now let me talk about some metrics. If you're saying, okay, I'm on board, and we're giving you some tools. I mean, I can't tell you how to do the phone call. I guess we could model it, but we're not going to do that. So I went out and I was looking today for the latest data, and I found something on funnel clarity. being the sales funnel. Okay,
Okay.
what they were looking at is the top 5% of people who were making salespeople who were making money on the phone.
All right.
So that is the context of this. What they found is that these people made on average 603.9 dials or calls placed per week, or 120.8, or 15.1 every hour, or one every 4 minutes.
15 calls an hour.
All right. Now, understand is not all those are going through.
Right.
You're getting voicemail. The phone line is dead. There's nobody there.
The office is closed. They're
The,
working from home.
or somebody answers and says no. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that metric is interesting because on average, these people got 57 new contacts every week, which is about 11.4 contacts a day, which is about 1.5 per hour. And all these statistics, by the way, are on our website, 2020sales.solutions, 2020 sales.solutions. Go to our show notes. That's in the tools section where you see show notes for sales 2020, show 17 at the bottom. And so what they got was 1.5 per hour, or every 10.6 calls to a contact. So now what does all that mean? That means that if you're doing what the best are doing, you're making about 120 calls a day. That means that you're making about 15 calls an hour. If you do that, unless your list is horrible, meaning that it was randomly selected out of the phone book, is that there are basically, for every 10 calls you make, a contact that's going to come out of that. So now you have a pretty good metric. So what I did here is I just played with this a little bit and said, okay, you put a $1,000 sales nut on top of your salesperson per week. In other words, you're saying you got to sell $1,000 of stuff. Well, how many calls do I have to make to sell $1,000?
That's a great question, Bill.
Well, there's only a couple things you got to know.
Okay.
All right. One is, what's the average sale? And I picked $50 because I wanted to make the math very simple to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if the average sale is $50, then that means I have to sell how many? If it's $50 and I need a grand, I need to make 20 sales.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's now look at our numbers. And if I've been tracking my sales funnel, in other words, how many potential sales do I put at the beginning of the funnel to get the number of sales out the back end? And let's say I'm running a pretty good operation, which is about 40%. If I need 20 sales out the back, I need about 50 sales in the front. In other words, if you give me 50 contacts that are interested, I'll close 20 deals. Now, if we take our 10.1, 10 to 1, if that's the case and I need 50,
okay,
then, and I have to talk to 10 people to get one, that means I have to talk to 500 people during the week.
And it's doable.
And it's doable. What that basically says, and this is all the type of stupid math I used to do when I was a sales manager, is that meant that person had to work at about 80% of their capacity during the week to make 500 calls. If they made 500 calls, everything else being consistent, they're going to make their sales numbers, we're going to make our revenue numbers. Now, where most of us are, and because we're not tracking this in a CRM, is we don't have those numbers.
Mm.
Okay, so let me put the CRM stuff aside and go back to the phone call, is that if these are totally cold calls, about every 10 calls you make will lead to something to follow up.
And that's what we want, build
Right.
that relationship.
So there's no reason why every day you're not producing 1 or 2 or 3 follow-ups to put into your system.
Okay.
Okay? Well, Donna, any closing thoughts before we turn the radio back over to people? We're going to do something else.
You know, Bill, there's been this one quote that I have been talking about all week, and I want to share it right now, that says, entrepreneurs are the heroes of our society because they put their soul into the game and risk failure for the rest of us. That hasn't changed even in this Rona world. So just, keep going. You got this.
That's right. And, it correlates real well with a quote by Theodore Roosevelt. I don't have it in front of me, but I'd ask you to Google it or search it, and that is Man in the Ring. Now, his use of man is not gender-based. It's just that,
we got it.
back in 1900 and something, you use that for all people. But basically, what he was saying is that it's better to be in the ring and dirty and failed than being one of
Spectators.
the expert spectators
Yeah.
who do nothing, accomplish nothing, but are able to tell
Armchair
you how stupid
quarterbacks.
you are. Yeah. And so if you're in the ring like we are, we're with you, and we're going to get through this together. Why? Because you're smarter than the bureaucrats, and you're smarter than the disease.
And we love you.
Okay. So, Donna, thanks for a great show. You will find our podcast, number 17, up on our website, which is 2020 sales.solutions. Go over there. Under tools, you'll see podcast, and I'll have that up later today. So if you listen on Saturday, it's already there. So you've been listening to Sales 2020 on WNTW, 92.7 FM, 820 AM, the voice of Central Virginia. See you next week, and I stand relieved.